Anyways, we are going to get started today. This seminar is over diversity awareness, which I'm going to be presenting to you all. But before I do, I have somebody here, a couple of people here actually from Student Support Services. Some of you might be familiar with them and have seen them around campus, or maybe they've came or have come and spoken to your class. I'm going to let them speak shortly to you guys about their program, and then we will move forward with our seminar. So.
Really comfortable with the mic either, but that's okay, we're okay. Some of you guys I have definitely seen before, and you're probably go, oh my gosh, there's Bobby again. I know that I definitely recognize some of you guys. But I want to be sure, one, that you guys remember where Student Support Services is and what we do. And two, we have a favor to ask of you if you haven't already done our survey, which some of you have definitely already done probably. So this may be some downtime for you to play on your phone just for a minute when we do it, okay? First, I want to introduce myself. I'm Bobby Pennington. I am the Career and Retention Specialist in Student Support Services. I talk to you guys about what you're doing, where you're heading. If you don't understand either one of those things, then we have a long talk. Then I also want to introduce our new staff person, just started today, Katie Stovall. This is Katie, and she is our
academic specialist.
Can't remember what the title is. Academic specialist. So if you come in and you need a tutor, this nice lady is going to help you get set up with a tutor. That's one-on-one tutoring. So I don't know if you want to stand up here while I do this, Katie. Okay, she's out. Bye, Katie. Okay. So first of all, just real quickly, what we do in Student Support Services is we try to help you guys be successful here. We do all sorts of stuff to help you in that regard. Tutoring, career counseling, we do transfer counseling, we have 2 big study labs for you guys. We lend an ear a lot of times if you just need to vent or talk to someone, we'll try to help you with that. Definitely a program that you guys can utilize, and it's free if you qualify. And so the ways that you qualify, there are 3 ways you can qualify. One is being a first-generation college student. That just means that whoever you grew up with did get a bachelor's degree. So that can qualify you. The second way you can qualify is to be income eligible. Generally, if you get Pell in your financial aid package, you're going to be income eligible. The third way is to be a student with a disability. And that can be just any kind of disability as long as it's documentable. So it can be a learning disability, it can be a physical disability, it can be an emotional disability. Just one of those is what you need to qualify for the free services at Student Support Services. Where we are is in Abels Hall, 2nd floor. You're just going to come up there and we'll make sure that you qualify and get the ball rolling if you think you can use the program. We have limited spots available. So I would say if you think, even next semester, if you think, man, I'm okay this semester, but next semester is going to be tough, then look ahead, be a little proactive, and think ahead and think if you're going to need us or not in the future, okay? So, I don't know, there's a lot of people to ask if anybody has questions. But does anybody have a question? Want to shout it out or anything? Anybody? Okay. So, and I know I've talked in front of you guys a lot, so you're probably done hearing about Student Support Services, but you guys, I hate to come up to the last semester and have somebody come up to our area that needs help and it's their last semester and they go, man, I wish I would have known you were here. We want you to know we're there because there's no sense in not using the program if you qualify. There's just not. Even if you don't need tutoring, if you just need a place to come ask questions, if you just need a place to come study, a place to come hang out and have a cup of coffee and relax between classes, where you know that you can get some support, then that's another reason to use our program, okay? So don't just flounder by yourself. We definitely are there to help you, okay? Okay, so you guys can get to your stuff. Some of you guys have probably already done our survey, right? Anybody already done the survey online? Thank you guys so much, you rock. So those of you that didn't, guess what? You get to do it now. So I don't know, can I get to the computer? Are you doing it for me? Okay. So if you've got your phone, I already see lots of little faces looking at phones. So you've already got your phone here. So if you'll pull out your phone or laptop or whatever instrument that you have that can get on the internet, you're going to go to the NEO homepage first. And then you'll go to academics. if it's on your phone, it'll have like a drop-down menu kind of thing. You're gonna go academics and then support, which is down there. Yeah. Oh, look, there you guys are. Did you see yourselves? Okay. So academic support. Is it gonna go there? It's supposed to. Well, if it would go there, when you go to academic support, then it should go to student support services. Well, it should go to different programs, and you select student support services. Once you've done that, you scroll down the page from student support services, and there should be a Take SSS survey. Is it going to work, Ryan? Well, technical difficulties here. Oh, yeah, it may be the Wi-Fi's. So, academic support, student support services, then take SSS survey. It's not going to do it up here for some reason. I'm not sure what's going on. The reason we're having you guys do a survey is because in our program, we're 100% federally funded, so we have to ask for money from the government every 5 years. And what that means is we have to prove that we're needed on campus. So when you guys do this survey, it just shows the government good numbers to show that we have students on our campus that have a lot of stuff going on and can use our program. So that's why we have you do the survey. This is kind of entertaining, isn't it? That's okay. I can't dance. Brian, you can sing. Okay. Are you guys finding it on your phones? Okay, go to the NEO homepage. Is it just not pulling it up for you? Is it twirl, 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 twirl? Yeah. Was anybody able to get to it? Because I hate to waste your time like this if you can't get to it. So I do have a question for you guys. Is anybody finding it? Is anybody able to get to it? Okay. Okay, I have a question. Does anybody feel different sitting in this chair now than they did a couple weeks ago? No? Really? You don't feel any different? Nobody's more tired? I just remember like my third week of college thinking, gosh, I've been through a lot my last 3 weeks. Were you going to use this? Oh, there it is. There it is. Voila, there it is. There you go. That's what it should look like when you get to it. So if you go to NEO, then academics, then support, then student support services, and the survey should be on there. That's under support, and then you go down and see student support services, click. And then the survey should show up at the bottom of that page. So it's not a real complicated path, but if you can get to it. Okay, Ryan wants me to tell you more perks of our program. One of the biggest perks, I think, in our program is that you're going to find a place where you can meet other people that are similar to you, but you can also meet other people who are different than you. And I think you're going to talk about diversity today. So when you're in college, I think one of the biggest things that can really help you as an adult is to learn how to be around people who are different than you and actually work with them.
Hey guys, heads up, look up here. I know you guys are working on the survey. Guys, this is just like a classroom setting, and when you go to a university, you'll have a classroom setting probably a lot like this, where there might be 300 to 400 students in the classroom. And in that classroom, what's that instructor going to expect out of all of you? Attentiveness, right? You're going to have to be paying attention to what's going on in order to get the information. And also, you need to be respectful of the individual that's up here. If you would please give her your undivided attention.
Oh gosh, now they're looking at me, Ryan. So what I was going to say is that I think it's really important to meet people that are different than you and learn to work with them. And so one of the big perks in our program is that you're going to get to hang around with all different kind of people and do projects together, study together, those kind of things. So that's a big perk. Another big perk is that we have funds available to help you guys with expenses. For instance, we have a book scholarship that we give out every year, or every semester actually, that's just for our students. We also have a stipend that you can get if you're on Pell, and we have to look and see if you qualify for that. If you come to activities and do those, you can get a little bump at the end of the year, academic year, cash-wise. We also have a thing where we can pay for a class next semester if you come, or next fall if you come back next fall. If there's some steps you have to go through to do that. So there's money involved as well as saving time and energy and also just having a good place to come hang out and ask questions. Plus we feed you, so that's a good perk, right? Okay. So are you guys finding it, the survey? Is anybody have been able to find it, get on it? Thank you. I hate to keep dragging this out to you guys because I know some of you guys have seen this several times already and I've already asked several times. But this is hugely important because if we can't prove to the government that you guys need us on this campus, then they're not going to keep giving us money, and they shouldn't keep giving us money because we need to show them that we're helping you guys. That's why we're here. So this survey is really important in order to do that. Very, very important. Not just for you guys, but for students in the future, definitely very important. So I appreciate you taking the time. I know it's not the most exciting thing to do, but it's exciting when we get the grant renewed and we'll have a big party and you can come, okay? Okay, so anything else? Okay. So please come see us. Abels Hall, 2nd floor. We need to see your little smiling faces and we would love to help you if we can, okay? Thank you for your time.
Okay, quick check on what she just discussed with you all. How many of you are still working on the survey? Continue working on it. I'm going to talk a little bit before we actually get started into the diversity seminar. Where are they located? Abels Hall, 2nd floor. Anybody want to talk about 2 services they offer? 2 services they offer? Raise your hand. Okay, financial aid and tutoring. Sorry, that was a bad throw. Do you play sports? Can you tell I don't? By that throw? Just kidding. Sorry. Let's see. How do you qualify? 2 ways to qualify for this program. Oh, hands up, please. Did you? No? Okay, first generation college student disability, and you were going to say the third one, what was it? Financial assistance. Man, I am weak today. It's because I haven't had lunch. Anybody still working on that survey? Okay. All right, we'll continue on working through the survey. I am going to go ahead and get started today. Before I do, I've got to do some logistical stuff here just because I don't have anybody helping me. So bear with me, please. And I'm hopeful that the video that I have for you all will play. Did I just hear somebody groan and moan about that? Okay. Okay, so this seminar is about diversity, and we're going to look at your diversity IQ, kind of where you stand on the spectrum. Are you one that's pretty open-minded? Do you have an understanding of what diversity actually is? And really just kind of pinpoint where we are and hopefully look at growing a little bit after this seminar today. The first thing, though, I want to show you is a quick video, and this is just an attention test, and then we'll talk about why I'm doing it here in a moment. So, get started.
To test just how much attention-stealing designer the new Skoda Fabia actually steals, we left one parked on this ordinary road in West London. We wanted to see if its sharp crystalline shapes, bold lines, and lower, wider profile would attract the desired level of attention. Will the 17-inch black alloy wheels stop passers-by in their tracks? Will the angular headlights attract the attention of other road users? Will a crowd gather to check out its fresh, sporty look? Well, not quite. But did the attention-stealing design distract you from noticing that the entire street has been changing right before your very eyes?
Okay. So what have you seen so far change? Anybody? Hold on, let me get up here and I'm gonna see. This is why you guys should have sat closer to the front, because I can't throw. This looks like 2 here, maybe. All right. Anything you saw that was changed? Okay, the bike and cones and stuff. Who else over here? I heard. Who said that? Sorry, you'll have to get. It's not really easy to throw a keychain, guys. Come on. Anything else? Over here. He said color of the building. Anything else you saw? The signs, the street signs. Okay, so we're going to actually finish watching this, and now I want you to see exactly what it was that you missed.
Don't believe us? Have another look. Did you spot the van changing to a taxi? How about the scooter changing to a pair of bicycles? Or the lady holding a pin? Let alone the fact that the entire street is now completely different. Didn't think so. So there we have it. Proof that the new Skoda Fabia is truly attention-stealing.
Who wants to see it again really quickly? I know we're still. Okay, we will watch it really quickly. Here we go.
To test just how much attention-stealing design the new Skoda Fabia actually steals, we left one parked on this ordinary road in West London. We wanted to see if its sharp crystalline shapes, bold lines, and lower, wider profile would attract the desired level of attention. Will the 17-inch black alloy wheels stop passers-by in their tracks? Will the angular headlights attract the attention of other road users? Will a crowd gather to check out its fresh and sporty look? Well, not quite. But did the attention-stealing design distract you from noticing that the entire street has been changing right before your very eyes? Don't believe us? Have another look. Did you spot the van changing to a taxi? How about the scooter changing to a pair of bicycles? Or the lady holding a pin? Let alone the fact that the entire street is now completely different. Didn't think so. So there we have it. Proof that the new Skoda Fabia is truly attention-stealing.
Okay, so we watched it again, and you guys probably noticed more the second time around, I'm assuming. Why? Because you were looking for those differences, right? Okay, in life, a lot of times we kind of go by just the normalcy. Oh. Sorry. Commercial break. Let's go straight to this slide. So the video that we have shown you, you had your focus, you were hyper-focused on the image itself at first, but you didn't see things changing around you. What happens in society a lot of times? There's an evolution of society. And sometimes we get so blindsided by staying focused on what it is that we've got in front of us or what we know or what we value or what we believe, we forget to look around us and see what else is shifting in our lives or what's changing on around us. So before we actually get started into our session, which I'm going to mention these terms probably throughout this seminar, how many of you are familiar with those words? Can you read those words? Huh? I'll be honest, I can't read them very well either because I don't have contacts in today. You might not be a bad idea for me. Okay, so the first one though we see here is ethnocentric. Anybody familiar with the term ethnocentric? No? I'm going to read it to you and then we'll talk about it. Evaluating other peoples and cultures according to the standards of one's own culture. For myself, I lived abroad for 3.5 years. I lived in Korea, where I learned the language, became accustomed to the food and their customs. But when I first went there, it was really difficult for me because I saw things through my Americanized cultural perspective, right? So when I went there, what did I think about what they did a lot of times? Were they wrong? I thought maybe it was strange or it was weird or it was wrong. The fact that they don't like to go line up at the grocery store and they'd prefer that everybody just crowd around to me was crazy. Why would they do that? But it was a cultural thing that was a cultural aspect of their daily lives. Sometimes we get, again, hyper-focused on what it is our culture does, and we think everything aside from us is in the wrong. Egocentric, thinking only of oneself without regard for the feelings or desires of others, self-centered. Anybody know somebody like that? Kristen Clark. Okay, so no names. But egocentric, meaning that what you do is always right. Okay, you've got the right process for doing this. How many of you understand that there's a different way about going about one thing? It doesn't always have to be your way. Then stereotypes, a widely held but fixed and oversimplified image, an idea of a particular type of person or thing. Anybody ever experienced being stereotyped? Yeah. Probably the majority of you have in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you came from a conservative household and you grew up in a conservative situation where people saw you in a certain light. They stereotyped you as this type of individual, or maybe the color of your skin determined a stereotype people saw in you, right? And are those okay? Absolutely not. Stereotypes are not okay. Then the last one here, microaggressions, terms used for brief and commonplace daily verbal behaviors or environmental indignities, whether intentional or unintentional. Anybody, can you think of an example, or anybody willing to share an example of a microaggression? No? Okay, I'll give you an example. There's one of my textbooks that I teach out of, it describes an individual. He's an African-American male, well-educated, teaches at a university. He's walking down the street. He's walking this way, and oncoming is a lady, a Caucasian female, walking with a stroller, and she has her purse right here. Okay, she's walking past, and all of a sudden, what do you think she does? She shifts the purse over. She shifts the purse over. So what is actually happening there? And a microaggression, this is something that it's an unconscious bias. We don't realize a lot of times the way we're thinking. Okay, we might talk a little bit about metacognition in here, where we try to understand why it is we think the way we think. And a lot of it comes from where? The way we were raised, our cultural background, okay? All of these things. Maybe you grew up in a situation where it was predominantly one group of people, and you weren't exposed to other things. So you had these ideas of what other people outside of your group were like. Now, at this moment in time, before moving forward, how many of you know the person beside you? How many of you know the person behind you? And maybe some of you don't have anybody behind you. or in front of you. What I want you to do right now is go ahead and meet somebody either behind you or in front of you or beside you that you do not know. Okay, so I hope everybody met someone that they did not know. Let's see. Who did you meet? What did you get earlier? Did I throw one of these to you?
The t-shirt.
Whoa, demanding here. Okay, we'll throw the t-shirt to you. I'm running out of t-shirts. That was a better throw. Okay, so you met whom? Maggie? Okay, so here's the thing, Maggie. I'm sorry, I cannot hear. Megan, gotcha. Megan. Woo, give me a hand clap right there. Megan, guess what? Did you know he was judging you? Did you know he was judging you when he first met you? Because what happens to all of us when we first meet someone, or you see me up on this stage, you are, yes, we are judgmental people, and we have this idea of, we already have a preconceived notion of who that person is, what they're like, where they're coming from, and then we automatically have this idea of how they should be or how they should act. Do we not? Yes? No? So what happens when we do that to a person? Do we confine them to a box? Confine them to an image? How many of you met somebody outside of your own racial group? Or a cultural group, maybe? Okay, and a lot of times what we do, we already have this preconceived idea of who they're probably going to be or what they're going to be like. We don't allow ourselves to get to know them as an individual. Instead, we see them for face value. So, interestingly enough, how many of you have ever been on an airplane? Okay, now I'm going to ask you, when you get into an airplane, how many of you have ever looked back into the cockpit, meaning up where the pilots are? Okay, and you expect to see what? You expect to see pilots. I hope somebody's there flying the plane. How many of you expect to see two females? We're going to talk about checking your blind spots. A lot of times we have, again, these kind of like microaggressions or preconceived notions of how things should be or the way things should function. In this case, you can see here, we have two pilots there. Those two pilots are of what race? They're white. They're Caucasian, right? They are both what? Male. To me, they look very much like they're probably retired military to me or something like that. They also have what color of hair? Whoops. They have gray hair. Tells me they've had experience. They probably know what they're doing. Now, if I've gotten into a plane before, and I'm just going to be frank with you and honest, I've gotten into a plane before, and I looked into the cockpit, and I've seen a male and a female. In my mind, though it's something that I'm not really acknowledging, I might have an unconscious bias. The idea of, oh my gosh, that's a female pilot. Should I be concerned? Should I get off the plane? Now, this is just an example, and I'm not saying that that would be my way, but we should all really start to examine our blind spots. Examine the things that we're not necessarily conscious of. So your unconscious bias. Now, going back to the microaggression. What's microaggression? Anybody? Unintentionally or kind of blindly judging or making presuppositions about somebody or a group of people, right? Okay, so we do this a lot. I want you to look at these images here. And how many of you, anybody read these? Can you read these? This first one says, no, where are you really from? No, where are you really from? Have you ever asked somebody, hey, where are you from? Oh, well, I live in California or I live in LA. And you're like, no, where are you really from? Because what? The fact that she's Asian? Do we do that? Yeah, we do that. And we need to keep ourselves in check and understand that that's not okay. So second one here, same, very similar as far as this statement, oh, I meant where are you from, right? Yeah. And then the next one here that says, dude, I totally forgot you were gay when we played ball earlier. Sorry. I can't read. So why would anybody say that to this guy? Clearly he's a gay male, right? But when he was out on the court, what? He didn't perform, he didn't act like it. So people already, again, have these preconceived notions. And these are called what? Microaggressions. Here's a couple of more. What's that one say? Anybody? Just because I'm Asian doesn't mean I can't drive. How many of you have heard that before? Anybody? Okay, and is it a true statement? No, it's not. But these things are engraved in us and put in us, instilled in us on behalf of what? Society stereotypes. Okay? Stereotypes. And then what's this one? Anybody? If you can't read it, I can't either, so I won't go read that one. Anybody? No? Okay, this next one here. When people think it's weird that I listen to Carrie Underwood, why? Why is it weird that she would listen to Carrie Underwood? Guys up here. Because we're all scared to say it. Because what? She's African American? Is that the thought? And we're all scared to talk about this type of stuff. We need to become more open, more able to communicate these ideas. Now, is that the case? That all African Americans don't like country music? Ladies and gentlemen, any of y'all out there, African Americans like country music? Okay, there we go. Thank you. So again, microaggressions and stereotypes. Now, so let's move into diversity. How many of you are fully aware what diversity is? It's a multi-layered thing. Diversity crosses a broad spectrum. So what does it mean? Real and perceived differences affecting relationships, interactions, opportunities, and outcomes. First one here says what? Anybody? Disability? Oh, we're struggling to read that. Socioeconomic status, gender, age, race and ethnicity, and then culture. Okay, now looking at yourself, how many of those directly correlate with who you are? You're probably male or you're female, right? You are of a specific race or several races, right? Maybe your sexual orientation, your age. You guys fall into a variety of or diverse group of diversity here. So it is a layered and complex idea, and diversity goes beyond just the visible. So looking at these, the beliefs, values, social norms, etc. How many of you did grow up in a, we'll say, pretty conservative home? Pretty conservative home. So you had probably a lot of rules and you had a lot of things that you had to do and follow. I grew up in a very conservative home, and then some of you may have grown up in a completely different environment. How many of you grew up in a small town? Small town, predominantly one race. Okay, put your hands down. How many of you grew up in a large city? Still predominantly one race. So you guys, those of you that grew up in a large city with a diverse group of people, you're probably more inclined to be more accepting of others. Why? Because that's what you know, and that's what you come to expect. Those of you who grew up in a small town, and maybe predominantly one race, when you came to NEO, what was different? Okay, so I don't know if I heard that correctly, but I'm not going to say it here. But some of you probably grew up in an extremely mono-ethnic group, right? Mono-ethnic group, guys up here. I'm going to have to do the clap. How many of you were at Camp Row, where I did the clap 1, 2, 3? I don't want to do that. But those of you who grew up in a very small town maybe grew up in an area where there was a mono-ethnic group, meaning one type of people, and you all function the same. We have a tendency as humans to gravitate towards that sameness. However, diversity is where we expose ourselves to others, maybe unlike us, and there's a lot that comes with that, a lot of value in doing so. But when I was talking about the layered and complex parts of diversity, you'll notice here that I circled culture, because culture is beliefs, values, and social norms. I was talking to you all earlier about my life in Korea. It was very different there. Social norms were different. I didn't go up to somebody and shake their hand and say hello. Actually, I bowed to them, said annyeonghaseyo, and moved on with my day. What about food? Did you grow up in a place where there's a certain type of food? Or foods that you ate regularly? How many of you would ever eat dog? How many of you would ever eat dog? Okay, I have eaten dog. Okay, I know. And here's the deal. You all are saying, ooh, gross, ooh, gross. Why? Because that is culturally unacceptable. That's not something that you would conform to. However, I moved abroad and had to assimilate to that culture and be able to eat that, right? So what would you say to that? Eating dog is... Okay, guys, listen up here. I'm losing you again. I know it's a big auditorium. Eating a dog, I heard inhumane. Okay, what else? It's not okay. It's not okay? Is it gross? It's weird. It's sad. Now, this dog was a dog that was raised to eat. It was like a cow to what we would do here, okay? So, but going back to the slide earlier, ethnocentric, when we think we know what's right and what's wrong, that's the same idea when I just asked you about the dog. You guys say, no, that's gross, that's not okay, that's inhumane. We become, again, a little bit more ethnocentric, thinking that what we know is right and everything else is wrong. So next slide here. What has your experience been at NEO? Maybe it's been a positive, maybe it's not been such a positive. When I'm talking to you about this, how many of you have been exposed to more groups of people than you've ever been exposed to in your life? So we have several of you in here. I hope you understand that NEO does pride itself on being a diverse campus, an open and accepting campus. You'll see here, actually several years ago, we were acknowledged for being a top 100 degree producer with regards to diversity. Anybody want to share anything, like the fact that they've been exposed to different groups? How many of you met somebody from out of the country here on NEO's campus? And what has that done for you? You think it's amazing. Why? Because you're learning about other people. You're learning about different groups and the way they live and the way they think, which pushes you further to think beyond what you know. Okay? So why is diversity important? Who can read me this first one here? Who can read this first one to me? Okay? Okay, so diversity promotes self-awareness, sharpens insight about self-knowledge. So you become more aware of self. You become more aware of the things that you think, and that exposure can only make you grow as an individual. Second one here. Whoever's going to say it needs to talk loudly. Anybody? Right here. Ooh, I heard a loud voice. Right here. Oh, wait. Okay, got it. Are you going to read that to me? Yeah. Okay.
Diversity stimulates social development, interacting with various groups, widens social increases adaptability, and
Okay, so diversity, I'm going to read it again because I don't think everybody heard it. Diversity stimulates social development, interacting with various groups, widens both your social circle and increases adaptability in relating to others. Adaptability is key in every aspect of your life, especially when you're going off to college or whether you're going into the workforce, because when you get into the workforce, what type of people do you think you're going to work with? Are they all going to be the same? No, because your employer looks for what type of people? A diverse group of people, people that can think outside of the box. So having exposure to that early on is going to be a benefit to you when you come into contact with that job or into higher education, etc. Number 3, diversity. Oh, I've got some sunglasses here. Anybody? Whoa, nobody likes the sunglasses. Okay, wait. Anybody over here? No? Okay. Yes. Go for it. Okay, so diversity enriches college education, liberates from tunnel vision of ethnocentric and egocentric thinking. So in your experience here as a college student, do you feel like maybe you have grown some as an individual, being exposed to different groups of people, different ways of thinking? And all of you that said no right now, guess what? Guess whose fault that is? It's your fault. Individually, it's your fault because you're not allowing yourself the opportunity to expose yourself to other people that might have different ideas to bring to the table or different concepts. How many of you have ever met somebody from a different religious group than you? And how many of you know that when you talk to somebody of a different religious group, both sides feel like they're right? Why are we like that? Now, you might sincerely believe, yes, I'm right, that's okay, but can you not hear them out, listen to what they have to say, try to understand their perspective? I went to a private Christian university in Springfield, Missouri, Evangel University, if anybody's familiar with it. One of the requirements for my Old Testament class was that, I'm sorry, not Old Testament, it was another course, but it was required that I attend 10 different services within that semester of different denominations or different religious groups. What's the importance of that? Why would a college, a Christian school, want me to go out to these other places and listen in on what they had to say? You want a keychain? Anybody a keychain? Man, I should have separated these earlier. Anybody? Yes? Where? Yes? No? Okay, so down here we said to be open to more ideas, to different ideas. How many of you think that hearing other people's perspective could also strengthen, in this case, being the affiliation it could increase the faith of that one person? Because they go out and they hear these different perspectives and they realize more so, I know what I believe. Yes? Or maybe they go out and they find out more of what? Well, you know what? This has opened my idea or my mind to this, that, or the other. Okay, so the last one here, anybody want to read it for a keychain? Okay, right here. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't throw that. Guys, that's why I said move up close earlier. Yes?
Diversity promotes creative thinking, experiences with diversity provide one with a broader knowledge and wider range of thinking styles, thinking outside of the box.
So thinking outside of the box. Diversity opens your mind up to thinking outside of the box. You're no longer confined to these general ideas that you might know based upon the cultural group you grew up with. Instead, you've got exposure, you've broadened your horizons, and now have more to bring to the table. As I mentioned earlier, when you go into the workforce, in order to be the most competitive applicant in the workforce, what are they going to look for? Say that you're going to a Fortune 500 company, you're going to go apply for this job, and you're going into, doing commercials or marketing type stuff. What are they going to be looking for?
Experience.
One, experience. Okay, what else?
Applicability.
Being applicable to the workforce or the job. Communication skills are key, and we're going to talk about that as being part of understanding diversity. Anything else? Leadership skills, and in being a leader requires what? Understanding different people, being diversified in your ideas. So also, they're going to look at you as an individual and see if you fit the mold of, or not the mold necessarily, but the idea of that you have a broad understanding, you have a broad perspective, you have fresh, new ideas, okay, and that is what diversity is all about. So let's talk more about we actually haven't got here yet, inclusion versus exclusion. We're all humans, right? And we all have a need to feel wanted or to feel like we are a part of something. However, the majority of us confine ourselves to a smaller group, right? The smaller group it's smaller, that doesn't make sense. The inclusive group is smaller than the excluded people, right? So the first thing, we are all human beings, we are all alike, we share a human experience. We are uniquely different in the same sense. We are like some people more than others. Affinity bias Anybody want to try and explain affinity? We have preferences, don't we? We have preferences for the type of people that we associate ourselves with, and why is that? We like to find people of like-mindedness. Okay, again, get away from that idea and try to expose yourself to people that are different from you. Athletes, where are you at? Where are you, excuse me? So we've got several groups of athletes in here, and when I look around the room, guess where they're sitting? Together, okay? They have the concept of like-mindedness there, right? Affinity bias, maybe. What do we have right here? What group? Soccer. Volleyball, soccer. I saw some guys back there. What? You guys aren't nearly as enthusiastic as the soccer and volleyball team. So we've got several different groups in here. And then also maybe those of you that aren't in sports, you're sitting with a certain group of people, or a certain group of people that are like-minded, or you guys have something in common, a commonality. So inclusion versus exclusion. How many of you find yourselves to be inclusive? Everybody's heard the phrase, us four no more, right? Anybody? That's being exclusive. Maybe growing up in middle school, high school, you were that person that was in there's always those groups. Okay, and you were in the cool group, and you guys were the elites, or you guys set yourself apart, and you didn't allow any others in. That's being exclusive. But really, we need to work on being inclusive. The more inclusive you are, the more that is brought to the table, and the more perspectives that are brought in, and your understanding will grow. So improving your diversity IQ, when we're talking about this, there's an acronym that I want to use, and it's called FACE. FACE. First letter is fundamentals of understanding, focus. When you're thinking of diversity, you guys probably just come across the thoughts that we first went through, which was male, female, so gender, or race, or sexual orientation. But we need to also go beyond that and take it a little bit further. So we need to start focusing on the issues. How many of you actually consider any of these ideas often? Females, how many of you think about women's rights? Or women in the workplace? Or equal wages, that type of stuff? Yeah, females do. Men, how many of you are thinking about that? Probably not very. Who said that? Uh-oh. Not enough men are thinking that way. Okay, and then minority groups. Anybody in minority group in here? I'm sure we have several, yeah. The other group in here, the majority, how often do you think they're thinking about the minority? And I know it's scary. We don't want to talk about this because it gets uncomfortable. We have to walk on eggshells. The important thing is that we start to develop exposure to these ideas. We start to put ourselves out there to understand them, to research them. Socioeconomic status is a huge one. We don't ever think of this one probably. Because most of us, now granted some of us did come from situations that may not have been the greatest, and our socioeconomic status may not have been where we would like it to have been, but you all are in college. There are people that are way, way worse off than all of us in here. But how many of you are thinking of the third world country that can't get water or food often? Probably not very many of you. Because why? It doesn't directly affect you up front. It's important, again, that we start to look at these things. Open your mind to these ideas. And then last one here, hidden handicaps.
Oh, I know someone who likes anime.
Okay. That, I guess, that falls under a group, a cultural group. That would fall under a cultural group, I would think. But when we're talking about hidden handicaps, we acknowledge things for what they are. We see them, we already make preconceived notions, we have ideas of who they are, what they are, but then we don't ever think about the things that are hidden, the hidden handicaps, right? So it's always good to be aware of these type of things. And here I am today, I'm just talking about getting you some exposure. I'm wanting you to start really thinking about these ideas and start developing your own thoughts on it, taking it, running with it, and exposing yourself. So next one, this is the A, awareness and authenticity. Become self-aware. What is your outlook on others? I know that sounds pretty vague, right? That statement, that question. What is your outlook on others? And when you say that, you can think broad on it, all people, but also think at particular groups, maybe the ones that we just mentioned. Do you guys have a different perception of females, or those with disabilities, or those of socioeconomic differences or levels in society? We do, whether you realize it or not. So, what is your outlook on others? Is what you do think reflective of one who is in tune with diversity? And that's a question you have to ask yourself. Keep yourself in check. Is what I'm doing, is what I'm saying really valuing what diversity is? Am I valuing the individual? Because what did we do first off when we came in here? I made you guys shake each other's hands, and you already started judging them. And maybe you, at that point, some of you might have even thought you're looking at them as a group. You're not looking at that person as the individual and valuing who they are personally. The second one here, being authentic, accepting yourself for who you are. Sounds easy enough, right? But so many of us, we're not willing to accept exactly who we are or what we think. Why? Because maybe within the group we're currently in, the cultural group we're in, it's not okay. Okay, if you're not willing to accept yourself for who you are, how are you ever going to be able to be respectful of others and have an understanding of others? Next one, authentic and then confident in the image of you, who you are. Be confident in who you are. Next one here, fundamental of understanding consciousness and communications. These are the C's for face. Communication, overcoming barriers, exposure to those different than you, proper usage of terms, pronunciation of names. How many of you have ever spoken with somebody that's not a native English speaker? How many of you have spoken with somebody that's not a native English speaker and it's really hard to understand them? How many of you have spoken with a native speaker it's hard to understand and you can't pronounce their name correctly? Okay, so how do you fix that? Do you shy away from it? We have a tendency to shy away from things that we're unfamiliar with or the things that we don't know. And then what happens when you don't understand something or you don't know something? There's a sense of fear that starts to develop. Yes? Okay, so overcoming barriers. Put yourself out there. Expose yourself to, again, it's all about exposure. Getting yourself out there, meeting new people different from you and your in-group. Exposure to those different than you. Proper usage of terms, pronunciation of names. How many of you have pronounced a name wrong? It was just a name that you thought was strange. It was a different name, not a strange name. And when you pronounced it incorrectly, what did you do? You may have gotten yelled at. How many of you started kind of like laughing, whatever? Is that being respectful of the other? What would it be like just to approach them and say, I'm so sorry, could you please pronounce your name for me so I will know next time around? I know in the classroom, when I'm teaching and going through the role, a lot of times I will have to ask about pronunciation. It's extremely important because a name is what? Part of a person's identity. And a part of a person's character, a lot of their culture, a part of their culture sometimes. So it's important to acknowledge that. Consciousness, check your biases, unconscious biases, challenge these. How many of you feel like you're biased in some way? It's okay, raise your hand. We're biased. We're biased towards certain groups of people, right? Is that unfortunate? You show more favoritism to one group compared to another? Does that occur? Again, you guys got quiet, got concerned. Oh gosh, we're biased. The thing here is that we start rethinking the way we think. Okay? Start reevaluating the way we think. Challenge those biases. Next thing here is exposure. Exposure means seek out opportunity to experience. Don't fear the unfamiliar, unknown, and open your mind. Open your mind to new ideas. Open your mind to new people. Open your mind to the forms of communication. We get so set in our ways, we get so caught up in who we are and what we're doing and what we know that we get afraid to we're afraid to expose ourselves to anything outside of what we are. So seek those opportunities to experience things outside of your norm. Don't fear the unfamiliar or the unknown. What happens when you fear things? Do you ever put yourself in situations where there's fear? Yes, some of you do. Okay, and if you're doing that, what happens when it comes out that it wasn't so bad? I did that. Everything was okay. You do it again, you develop a sense of confidence, right? Okay, and you develop a sense of competence in that confidence, knowing that you're capable of doing it and that you become hopefully good at it. Now, when something is unfamiliar, can you think of a certain group of people that were feared in history, possibly? Okay, a group of people that might have been feared. Guys, this is a good conversation to have, and I want it to be an open conversation, but I want it to be a respectful one also. A certain group of people in history that were feared. Okay, so, and I heard that was the one I was going to hit on. Hitler. Okay, what happened in Nazi Germany? The genocide, right? Killing of the Jews, and why was that? Okay, first off, maybe there was some other underlying things, but also it was unfamiliar. It was an unfamiliar group to Hitler and his followers, and then in turn induced what? When you're unfamiliar with something and you don't want to expose yourself to it, it becomes what? We start to fear it. And then in turn, after fear takes place, what does that induce a lot of times? Hate or hatred, yeah. And then we've seen this repeated over and over throughout history, have we not? Maybe on a major scale and maybe on a more smaller scale, but it occurs more often than we think. And again, part of this conversation that we're having today is to avoid repeating these type of things in history. You guys have any thoughts? Questions? Comments? Hold on just a moment. Let me look at time here. Okay, actually, I've got a few questions for you then. I've got glasses. Who wants some glasses? So, terms. It's going back to terminology. Egocentric. Egocentric. Who wants to tell me what egocentric is? Okay, who said right here? Okay, tell me. Egocentric is what? Okay. Guys, listen up. It's just like a classroom setting, remember. Self-centered, okay? To be self-centered, thinking you're the one that's always right. So ethnocentric. Ethnocentric.
Compare other ethnicities to your culture and norms.
Okay, so your group is the in-group or your ethnic group. Doesn't even have to be just ethnic, but they are correct, or they know better than any other group, right? Whoa, jeez. I'm okay. Thank you. First applause of the day was after I had fallen. Wonderful. Let's see. What's an unconscious bias? An unconscious bias. Okay? Do what now? Okay, so you have an affinity for a certain group of people that you like, maybe more so. Is that going to make it? Nice catch. Nice tag there. Let's go back really quickly. And, oh, there was a good one. Microaggression. Microaggression. Yes? Okay, yes. And you wrote that down, didn't you? Yes. Somebody's going to, oh gosh, I'm sorry. If those broke, come see me, I'll get you another pair. But microaggression, terms used for brief and commonplace daily verbal, behavioral, or environmental indignities, whether intentional or unintentional. Guys, this is such a commonplace. This is so common for all of us to do. Again, unconsciously doing these type of things. FACE, the acronym FACE. What's the F stand for? Anybody? Focus. Who said that? No. Oh, you got some. Who said focus? I don't know where it's going to. So focus. We're going back over these really quickly. Focus on the issues. Again, we've talked about a few of these. A, it had 2. Okay, anybody else? Anybody else? An A. Awareness and what else? Awareness and authenticity, that is correct. Oops, sorry. C, communication and consciousness and communication, okay? Consciousness and communication. And the last one here, E, was exposure. I'll get you this afterwards, okay? You can come up and get it. Quickly, before we wrap this up, anybody have questions or comments about this seminar? No? Okay, understand that you do have an assignment that goes with this seminar, and you guys will find it on D2L. You have to do a biography and autobiography, meaning that you'll write about both self and you'll write about somebody else that you have to kind of interview and talk to, and then you're going to do a reflection on the differences or similarities that you guys have. Any questions on that? Yes? On another student. Yes, somebody of a different background than you. Okay? That's it for today. Have a great afternoon, guys. We'll see you.